Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we are back on the dev server having a look at a new barnstormer for the Americans. This is the USS Nevada. It is a new battleship which is coming in for America for the next major update. The Nevada started its life before the First World War, but this is a massive refit for the Second World War. It keeps its main guns, but pretty much everything else has changed over that period of time. So the vehicle has access to 4 sets of main guns, 2 triple-mounted 14-inch sets, plus 2 dual-mounted 14-inch sets as well, meaning that it has a pretty decent amount of firepower. Its secondary armaments is 8 dual-inch 5-inch guns, or 8 dual 5-inch guns, 4 on each side of the vehicle, very similar to a lot of other American vehicles that we have in the game. And as an AA complement, since this is a late war refit from 1944, it has access to 8 quad sets of 40mm Bofors, which of course look like these around here, which is just nuts. And then on top of that, it has 40 single 20mm guns as well, just in case that wasn't enough. So this vehicle really has a lot of stuff around it. You can see some of the 20mm here, and obviously the 40s here as well. There's no torpedoes, no depth charges, no gaff, just guns when it comes to the Nevada. And on top of the platform, not just from the gun point of view, but also from the armor point of view, it's pretty tanky. The belt is 343mm in its total. Then below that, you have 281, and of course 203, and then 38 below that, below the sea level. The actual ammo elevators are covered with a 330mm armor setup, same with the funnel, which is actually located in the center of the machine. Then on the front of the turrets you have 406mm of armor as well, meaning that this is a pretty chunky monkey. And even though it is chunky, it still can go nearly 40 kilometers an hour around the place. It has some anti-torpedo protection as well, meaning that if you get hit by torps, they won't always annihilate you. It does also have 114mm of deck armor, which is pretty cool as well. This vehicle is very much set up to be survivable. X-ray wise shows an absolute conglomeration of colors, but it also shows, if you do penetrate, that there is a ton of ammo in this machine on either side where the large turrets are. In the center, it is mainly just set up as engine rooms, but the engine rooms themselves are actually quite small compared to everything else on the vehicle. You also have some fire directors, which, to be honest, are not very good. They are pretty poor, actually, with only an accuracy of 85% and a fire solution calculation time of 24 seconds, which definitely is not good enough, in my opinion. So overall, a lot worse than a lot of the other things that you face at this general level. That's one of the downsides of the vehicle itself. Modification-wise, for the 14 inches, you get a HE and then also APC-BC. So if you really need penetration, these will be able to go through everything and still have a pretty decent amount of explosive mass while going through. The 5-inch guns have all the standard shots that they usually do, so HE, then 2 SP or common, and then SP common, and then HEVT on top of that. So multi-roll is definitely something these 5 inches can do. I'd probably just run HEVT on them personally, just because they're not really going to be used to take out stuff like cruisers and battleships and battle cruisers. Instead, just planes and maybe smaller machines. But the 14-inch guns are really going to be the powerhouse of this machine. Looking at the guns themselves, the fire rate is not exactly the best. 1.5 rounds per minute is not really wonderful, and they have 100 rounds in each of the guns, so plenty to be able to shoot back at the enemy. And one thing I can also show, which is pretty cool on this vehicle, is the new camouflages that they brought in. So for certain areas of the naval side of things, they brought in some camos. The unicolor one for the American ships, you can see it creates this nice little blue color. The Atlantic Ocean Fleet one as well, which is pretty cool right now, similar to the Des Moines class, which has one which is pretty much the same. And then also the Pacific Fleet so you can rep both sides of the setup. I'm really happy that they added these in. I think they're really nice, and I'm glad it's something for people to aim for, even if they are only GE camos at the moment. Maybe they'll decide to put in some kill stuff as well. So what you're getting out on the Nevada, by the way, the place that you can find it in the tree is before the Arizona, surprisingly, and not after the Arizona. Usually they do the opposite when it comes to that, but I suppose it has less of a main armament than the Arizona itself. But what you're getting out of this machine is a very tanky one, which at the same time is going to have a ton of guns which are going to fire in whatever direction you want it to. There'll be a ton of firepower just going towards planes. There'll be a ton of firepower going to... okay, it's already dead. You'll have a ton of firepower going towards a bunch of the other areas, but the 14 inches will take a long time to actually, you know, deal the damage that they need to. The 40s and 20s and 5 inches, you can see, are just going to absolutely wreck anything that's about. But look how slow these turrets are getting around the place. Oh my, I don't understand how people can be okay with playing this stuff, because it just takes so long to like do anything. Come on, my son, get around. Well, we got some of them on target, I suppose. But the 14 inches are basically the same that you've seen before. So they will pack a punch once they hit. You can see there with the HE. They pretty much just decimated half that destroyer with half of a battery. But then you're going to be sat here for a long time reloading, which is the major issue with these guns. If you can stagger them, then that's pretty good. You know, you're able to at least do a decent amount of damage to stuff, but at the same time there's a lot of waiting around with this machine. I remember when the Arizona came out, you actually had a reload of 60 seconds, which was just ridiculously bad. Now it's a little bit better at 45 seconds, but still incredibly slow to be able to play. So it'll survive, it'll be decent, it'll do well, and there's a lot, you know, to enjoy about it, but also at the same time it's just very, very monotonous in its overall playstyle. I wish in general it felt, you know, a little bit nicer to play vehicles like this, but at least for me it's just a little bit too slow and a little bit too methodical. There's an issue at the same time where basically based on, you know, the amount of RNG that you have on your side, it can be actually very it can either, you know, work well in your favor, or you can just kind of get screwed by it, and that's one of the issues I have with these general machines. But that's the Nevada, an interesting vehicle, another huge, massive battleship from the US. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Millie Draper, Juan the Panda, Nick R. Cupila, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Merciless Reaper, Orange Tail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie B. Young, Peter Grayling, Jerry Provolt, Bareen, Alan Hacker, Sem Arslan, Uncle Bean, Derek R., and Lafouche for supporting the channel.